Have you ever wondered why so many conversations between elderly parents and their adult children end with the phrase, "We're just trying to help you"? Picture this. You're sitting at your kitchen table, the same one where you made countless family decisions for decades. But now you're quietly waiting to ask permission to visit un vieux ami. The coffee tastes different, the morning routine isn't yours anymore, and somewhere between the helpful medication reminders and the well-meaning restrictions, vous réalisez que vous êtes devenu un invité dans ce qui était censé être votre refuge sûr. There's a painful truth that families rarely discuss openly. When elderly parents move in with their adult children, what begins as a loving solution often transforms into an invisible prison, where independence slowly disappears behind a curtain of good intentions. The very people who once looked to you for guidance now make decisions about your daily life, your social connections, and even your money. You find yourself walking on eggshells in spaces that don't feel like home, watching your identity as the family leader fade away, one small compromise at a time. What I'm about to share with you might be difficult to hear, but it could save you from making mistakes that millions of seniors discover too late. In the next few minutes, you'll learn about the 7 critical errors that can turn this living arrangement from a blessing into a source of deep regret, and more importantly, how to protect your dignity and independence before it's too late. Number 1. Loss of personal freedom and self-esteem. The first morning you can't make your own breakfast because, "Mom, you might burn yourself?" Something inside you quietly breaks. What started as your daughter bringing you medication reminders has grown into a web of gentle restrictions that feel anything but gentle. You find yourself asking permission for things you've done independently for soi dixans. Can I go to the grocery store? Can I call my friend? Can I rearrange your mon mobilier? Each "let me help you with that" chips away at the person you've always been. This isn't just about losing the ability to make daily choices. It's about watching your identity dissolve one small decision at a time. When you can no longer choose what time to eat dinner, which TV channel to watch, or even when to take your afternoon nap, you begin to feel like a child again, but without a child's hope for growing up. Your self-worth, built over decades of managing a household, raising children, and making important life decisions, starts to crumble under the weight of well-meaning care. The mental impact runs deeper than most people realize. When someone else controls your schedule, your social interactions, and your daily routines, your brain begins to shut down its decision-making pathways. You stop trusting your own judgment. You start second-guessing thoughts you once expressed with confidence. The energy that once fueled your passions and interests gets redirected into a constant internal battle between gratitude for help and grief for your lost autonomy. Here's what you can do to protect your independence. Before moving in with family, establish clear boundaries about which decisions remain yours alone. Create a written agreement that includes your right to maintain your own schedule, choose your own activities, and manage certain aspects of your daily life. Insist on having your own space where your rules apply. Most importantly, communicate openly about your need to feel useful and capable rather than managed. Your freedom isn't something you should have to earn back. It's something you should never have to give up in the first place. Number 2. Stress émotionnel et relations tendues. Ces mots non exprimés pendant dans l'air comme de la fumée d'un feu que personne ne veut reconnaître. Living under the same roof brings old grievances bubbling to the surface, turning innocent conversation into minefields. That comment about how you used to discipline the grandchildren suddenly becomes a judgment on your entire parenting approach. The way you leave dishes in the sink transforms into a symbol of disrespect. Every interaction carries the weight of decades of history, and suddenly you're walking on eggshells in what's supposed to be your sanctuary. The emotional exhaustion is overwhelming. You find yourself rehearsing simple conversations before having them, weighing every word to avoid conflict. When your son gets frustrated about work and takes it out on you for leaving the newspaper on his chair, you swallow your hurt rather than defend yourself. You become a master at reading moods, adjusting your behavior to match the household's emotional temperature. But this constant vigilance drains your spirit in ways that surprise you. Perhaps the cruelest irony is feeling lonely while surrounded by family. You sit at dinner tables full of people but feel invisible. Your grandchildren are polite but distant. Your own child seems stressed and overwhelmed by your presence. You realize you've become a responsibility rather than a welcome family member. The guilt eats away at you, making you question whether you've become a burden that everyone tolerates rather than cherishes. The path forward requires honest conversation, even when it's uncomfortable. Schedule des réunions familiales régulières où chacun peut exprimer ses sentiments sans jugement. Create space for acknowledging that this arrangement is difficult for everyone involved. Establish ways to contribute meaningfully to the household that go beyond being someone who needs care. Whether it's sharing family stories with grandchildren, helping with meal planning, or managing certain household tasks, find roles that make you feel valuable plutôt que toléré. Remember, strained relationships can heal, but only when everyone stops pretending everything is fine and starts working together to make it genuinely better. Number 3. Manque de vie privée et d'espace personnel. Votre porte de chambre ne se verrouille plus parce que et si quelque chose se passe et qu'on ait besoin de rentrer? The bathroom schedule revolves around everyone else's needs. Your favorite chair in the living room has become the place where mail gets sorted because it's convenient. These might seem like small adjustments, but they represent something much larger: the erosion of your personal sanctuary in a world that no longer recognizes your need for solitude and reflection. Privacy n'est pas seulement question d'espace physique, c'est question d'espace mental pour respirer. When you can't have a phone conversation without someone listening in, when you can't enjoy your morning coffee in peaceful silence, when you can't even choose what to wear without input from others, your sense of self begins to suffocate. The little rituals that once brought you joy, reading the newspaper at your own pace, listening to your music, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts, deviennent négociations avec les horaires et les préférences d'autres personnes. The pressure to conform to household rhythms affects you in ways you didn't expect. You stop humming because it might disturb someone. You suppress your natural sleep patterns to match the family's routine. You give up hobbies that require space or make noise. Gradually, you become a muted version of yourself, and the vibrant personality that once filled rooms becomes a whisper trying not to take up too much space. Protecting your personal space requires intentional boundaries and creative solutions. Designate specific times when your room is off limits to others. Create a personal schedule that includes uninterrupted time for your own activities. Si possible, établissez une petite zone qui est entièrement la vôtre, où vous pouvez garder vos effets rangés comme vous le souhaitez. Communiquez clairement sur votre besoin d'isolement sans faire ressentir aux autres un rejet. Sometimes a simple sign on your door that says resting can give you the privacy you need without causing offense. Your need for personal space isn't selfish. It's essential for maintaining your mental health and sense of identity in a challenging living situation. Number 4. Changement de rôle et perte d'identité. Le moment où votre enfant adulte commence à prendre des rendez-vous médicaux pour vous sans vous demander, vous réalisez que le changement s'est produit. You've gone from being the family patriarch or matriarch to being someone who gets managed rather than consulted. Decisions about holiday plans, family gatherings, and even major purchases happen around you rather than with you. Your decades of experience and wisdom get dismissed with phrases like, "Things are different now," or "Let us handle this." The person who once guided this family through major life decisions is now expected to sit quietly and accept whatever choices others make. This role reversal cuts deeper than most people understand. When your opinion about family matters gets ignored, when your suggestions are met with patient smiles that say, "That's nice, but we'll do it our way," when your stories are interrupted because they're taking too long, you begin to feel invisible in your own family. The respect you once commanded through years of sacrifice and good decisions evaporates, replaced by a patronizing kindness that feels worse than outright dismissal. Social isolation compounds the problem. Your friends hesitate to call because they don't want to bother the family. Invitations to social events get filtered through your children, who decide what's appropriate for you to attend. Your independence in maintaining relationships gets compromised by logistics and other people's schedules. You watch your social circle shrink not because people don't care, but because accessing your relationships requires navigating through gatekeepers who mean well, but don't understand what these connections mean to your sense of self. Reclaiming your role requires deliberate action and clear communication. Insist on being included in family decisions that affect you, even if others think they're protecting you from stress. Maintain your own relationships by having direct contact with friends and family members. Take initiative in planning activities or solving family problems to demonstrate that your capabilities haven't diminished. Most importantly, remind your family regularly that needing help with some things doesn't mean you need help with everything. Your voice still matters, your experience still has value, and your role in the family should evolve rather than disappear. Number 5. Dynamiques familiales et tensions relationnelles. La tension dans la cuisine est suffisamment épaisse pour être coupée avec un couteau. Your daughter-in-law forces a smile when she finds your coffee cup in the sink again, while your grandson avoids the living room when you're watching your favorite shows. Your presence has shifted the entire household's dynamic, creating ripples of stress that touch everyone. Family members who once enjoyed relaxed evenings now navigate around schedules, preferences, and unspoken rules that didn't exist before you moved in. Your adult children are struggling with a burden they didn't fully anticipate. They're trying to be good parents to their own children while also becoming caretakers for you. They're managing their careers, their marriages, and their own aging processes while worrying about your safety, health, and happiness. The stress shows in short tempers, hurried conversations, and the exhausted look in their eyes at the end of long days. You see them becoming people you don't recognize, overwhelmed and stretched thin by competing responsibilities. The children in the household face their own adjustments. Grandchildren qui venaient autrefois pour s'amuser vivent désormais avec des règles sur les niveaux de bruit et les activités qui pourraient vous déranger. They've lost access to spaces in their own home and must share attention with your needs. Teenagers especially struggle with the loss of privacy and freedom, creating resentment that gets directed at everyone. The joyful chaos of family life gets replaced by careful management of everyone's needs and feelings. Managing these dynamics requires honest acknowledgement that everyone is struggling with this transition. Hold regular family meetings where each person can express their frustrations and needs without judgment. Create systems that protect everyone's essential routines and spaces. Look for ways to contribute positively to the household rather than just being someone whose needs must be managed. Consider whether certain arrangements need to be temporary while everyone finds better long-term solutions. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for your family is recognize when the current situation isn't working for anyone and be brave enough to explore alternatives. Number 6. Financial risks and erosion of financial independence. What started as offering to pay for groceries occasionally has somehow become your responsibility. Pour le budget alimentaire mensuel complet. Those helpful suggestions to put the house in both our names for tax purposes now seem less helpful when you realize what you've actually given up. Your monthly contributions to household expenses have grown from generous gestures to expected obligations, and your savings account balance tells a story you weren't prepared to write. The financial dependency works both ways, but not equally. While your contributions to household expenses grow larger, your control over those decisions grows smaller. You find yourself paying for things you wouldn't normally buy, at prices you wouldn't normally accept, following spending patterns that don't match your values. When you try to discuss the budget, you're told not to worry about it, but the money coming out of your account tells a different story. Legal complications ajoutent une autre couche de stress qui vous empêche de dormir la nuit. Adding your child's name to your property might have seemed like smart planning, but now you're discovering potential impacts on your Medicare benefits, taxes sur la propriété et planification de l'héritage. Gifts that seemed generous at the time could affect your eligibility for government programs you might need later. The financial advisors who once worked for you now seem to work around you, making recommendations to your adult children rather than directly to you. The erosion of financial independence affects more than your bank balance. It affects your sense of security and self-worth. When you have to ask permission to spend your own money, when major financial decisions get made without your input, when your life savings become part of someone else's financial planning, you lose more than money. You lose the dignity that comes with financial autonomy. Protecting your financial independence requires immediate action and ongoing vigilance. Keep separate accounts for your personal expenses and maintain direct control over them. Comprenez complètement tout document juridique avant de le signer et insiste sur un conseil juridique indépendant. Create clear written agreements about financial contributions and expectations. Most importantly, never give up more financial control than you can afford to lose, both practically and emotionally. Your financial security is too important to trust to good intentions and family loyalty alone. Number 7. Incertitude sur l'avenir et manque de contrôle. L'appel téléphonique arrive à 3 heures du matin. Votre fils a été proposé un transfert d'emploi à travers le pays, and suddenly everything you thought was settled becomes uncertain again. The life you've carefully arranged around his family's routine, the doctor you've grown to trust, the few friendships you've managed to maintain in this new city, all of it could disappear with one career opportunity. You realize with startling clarity that your entire future depends on decisions that other people will make based on their priorities, not yours. This lack of control extends beyond major life changes. When your daughter decides to renovate the house, your living space gets disrupted for months. When your son-in-law changes jobs and becomes stressed, the household atmosphere changes and you walk on eggshells. When grandchildren have activities, your schedule revolves around their needs. Every aspect of your daily life becomes subject to changes you can't predict or influence, leaving you feeling like a passenger in your own life. The psychological impact of this uncertainty is exhausting. You stop making long-term plans because you don't know if you'll be in the same place next year. You hesitate to invest in relationships or activities because everything feels temporary. Your sense of stability, built over decades of making your own choices and controlling your environment, crumbles under the weight of depending on other people's decisions for your basic security. Planning for an independent future becomes essential for your mental health and practical well-being. Create backup plans that don't depend entirely on your current living situation. Maintain financial resources that could support alternative arrangements if needed. Keep important documents and personal belongings organized in a way that allows for quick transitions. Most importantly, have honest conversations with family members about what would happen if circumstances change unexpectedly. Your future shouldn't be entirely dependent on other people's choices, no matter how much they love you. Number 8. Self-reflection. Before decisions and the role of community. Before you pack that first box or sign those papers, sit quietly with yourself and ask the hardest question. Are you making this decision from fear or from wisdom? Too many seniors move in with adult children because they're afraid of being alone, afraid of being a burden, or afraid of admitting they need help. But making major life decisions from fear rarely leads to outcomes that honor your true needs and values. Real self-reflection requires brutal honesty about what you're hoping to gain and what you're willing to sacrifice. Are you moving in because you genuinely want to be closer to family or because you're scared of managing on your own? Are you prepared for the loss of independence that almost inevitably comes with this arrangement? Have you considered alternatives that might meet your needs for security and connection without requiring you to give up your autonomy? These aren't easy questions, but they're essential ones. The power of shared experience can transform individual struggles into collective wisdom. When you connect with other seniors who face similar decisions, you realize you're not alone in these challenges. Their stories can illuminate possibilities you hadn't considered and warn you about pitfalls you haven't anticipated. Sometimes the most valuable advice comes from someone who made the same mistake you're considering and learned from it. Building a supportive community of peers creates strength that goes beyond individual circumstances. When seniors share their experiences openly, support each other's decisions, and advocate for each other's dignity, they create a network that can weather changes better than any single living arrangement. Your wisdom and experience have value, not just to your family, but to other people facing similar choices. The decision of where and how to live in your later years is too important to make in isolation and too personal to let others make for you. Your independence isn't something you should have to negotiate for or earn back. It's your birthright, built through decades of making decisions, solving problems, and caring for others. The 7 mistakes we've explored today aren't just cautionary tales. They're roadmaps to help you protect what matters most: your dignity, your autonomy, et votre sentiment de soi. When you recognize these patterns early, you give yourself the power to make different choices. You can set boundaries that protect your freedom while still accepting help when you need it. You can maintain your role as a valued family member without becoming someone who gets managed rather than respected. Most importantly, you can make decisions based on your true needs rather than fear or pressure from others. Remember, asking for what you need isn't selfish, it's necessary. Whether that's maintaining your own space, keeping control over your finances, or insisting on being included in decisions that affect your life, you have the right to advocate for yourself. Your wisdom didn't disappear when you needed help with daily tasks. Your voice still matters, and your choices still count. The families who navigate these challenges successfully are the ones who communicate openly, respect everyone's needs, and remember that getting older doesn't mean giving up your identity. When both generations approach these changes with honesty and compassion, beautiful solutions can emerge that honor everyone involved. Take a moment to reflect. Which of these 7 mistakes resonated most deeply with you today? What conversation do you need to have? Or what boundary do you need to set to protect your dignity and independence? Si ce vidéo a aidé à voir votre situation plus clairement, veuillez la partager avec quelqu'un qui pourrait avoir besoin de ces insights aussi. Your experience and wisdom can help another person make better choices for their future. Until we meet again, remember that your life story isn't finished yet, and you still get to write the ending.